Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aesthetic Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest on the podcast, Colm, who we worked together for about 18 months. Was that right?
It was roughly 18 months.
18 months. We finished working together, I think, about this time, sort of 2 years ago.
Yes, I can't believe it's quite that long, but yes.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it was about June, July time, I think, 2 years ago.
Crazy. But Colm is a very, very special member of what I've done up until this point. So Colm, thank you so much for coming on, mate. For everyone watching or listening, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, where life's at?
Sure. I'm Colm. I live in Kent, in southeast of England. I'm now a gentleman of leisure. I retired exactly a year ago, yesterday, in fact. So my partner, Stephen, and I are just really enjoying retirement at the moment and just doing all the things we've always wanted to do. And the work I did with you, Connor, set me up for retirement, really. That wasn't the plan. If you remember at the time, we started working together because I needed to boost my confidence for work, but I didn't know there'd be another payoff, which would be that I'd be fit and well for retirement. So basically living the good life.
Good. Just really interesting you say that about work, because I actually use you as an example a lot when people are talking to me about stress and how they respond to getting home from work. I'm like, I know just the guy that was coming home and had a crazy job. And when I talk to them about what you like, actual work that you were doing, they're like, wow. Amazing. So, Colm, let's rewind to before we started working together, because I want us to really get this full picture so that we get from where we started to where we are now. What was life like at that point for you?
Well, at the time I started working with you, which was end of October 21, I think. So that was like we were coming out of COVID. So I'd been working from home for about 9 months or so. And I just put on a lot of weight. It was a very stressful time, very difficult time. Work became much harder because I had to do everything online, and not being a great techie person, that was a real challenge for me. And conducting everything from the waist up meant that I could wear jogging pants and shorts, and I only had to look smart halfway up. So when it came time to go back to the office, and my job was very much about giving presentations and training sessions and so on, I just couldn't get into my suit. And that was it just rocked my confidence a lot. And I felt really bad about myself. And then I tried losing weight and I just got stuck. I was just completely stuck. And the kind of stuckness would just build on itself. I'd feel bad about myself, and then I'd eat or drink, and then I feel worse about myself, and then I eat more. And so I just got into these habits of snacking mostly late at night, cheese being very high on the agenda, and I felt really, really stuck, and it was damaging my self-confidence, and that was affecting my work, because a big part of kind of presenting myself to people is about feeling confident, and I'm not an extrovert person. I have to look good to feel good, if that makes sense. So actually how I dress is really important to me. So having a wardrobe of suits that didn't fit me anymore sounds maybe superficial, but it was a big impact on me. And so that's when our paths crossed and things began to change.
It's interesting, right? Because I don't think it sounds superficial at all. I think it's normal. Everybody cares about how they look, and especially when you're in quite a high-end job yourself, looking smart is part of the role, as well as obviously the actual thing that you're delivering. And cheese is always an excellent choice. It is, this sort of situation is so common, where it is we come home from whatever it may be, like work, or so we're having that emotional reaction to, oh my God, my day's been so stressful, whatever it may have been. And then what we're looking to do is go, well, I want to decompress, I want to relax. And then food and alcohol give us immediate gratification, immediate, oh, that feels really nice. And what happens in the brain then is, well, that worked. So next time we feel that, well, let's do that again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think another big part was I used to travel a lot. And when I got back into traveling, anybody familiar with the railway system in the UK will know that you spend a lot of time in stations with lots of fast food outlets and donut shops and stuff. And that was a big factor for me. And so learning how to prepare food and carry, you may remember my emergency salad boxes. Having something healthy for those occasions made a huge difference, because when I was fed up on a cold railway station somewhere, McDonald's or Burger King was just the natural option, really. So it was just little things like that that I learned working with you that helped just to be ready for the unexpected, really.
Amazing.
Which
Amazing.
wasn't very unexpected. It's different now that I'm retired, but so I don't have all that stress anymore, which is nice.
Definitely. Eliminating that is really nice. Well, what were the specific things then that you were struggling with before we got going?
Oh, I think definitely just turning to food for comfort and stress relief, and not really knowing if I was hungry or thirsty. One of the earliest things I learned was about drinking more water. I just didn't drink enough water. I just assumed I was hungry. I wasn't always hungry. I was often thirsty. And I didn't prepare. So temptation after a stressful day to get a takeaway or go out for a curry. So it was that lack of preparation. So that events kind of took over, and then food didn't play any part in the events, if you like. It became, oh, we need to eat what we've got. We've got nothing in the fridge. Well, let's go have a curry. It's just that lack of preparation, and I think that lack of thought about what I was eating and the amounts I was eating. They were huge factors, and I think I just got very, very stuck. And learning how to plan was a big, big factor, to know what you're going to eat and prepare that in advance. And during the day, if I was hungry, and there were a lot of work lunches, and I'd often think, well, I know what I'm going to have when I get home. So if I have a big lunch now, then that's going to ruin my plan for today, and I don't really need a big lunch right now because I've got something nice at home. So it's getting out of that kind of rut, really, and just repeating the same pattern of not planning ahead around food. And then that affected my relationship with food. It became both a comfort and an annoyance, because the thing that comforted me would make me then feel guilty and cross with myself, and wasn't a happy place.
It's that classic circle, isn't it, that people get stuck in, like you said there, where it's right, this is the thing that I turn to, but then it doesn't make me feel good. So I want to change this. I still want to enjoy food. I want to improve my relationship with it, but I need to have an element of control over it. And it's something that I actually see quite a lot in people that have really successful careers, because you look at the skills that you have in your work.
Mm-hmm.
You're so organized with the work that you're doing, you turn up, you're consistent, so you have the skills, and it's now just a case of going, right, how do we apply that in this position here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a big change for me, and I guess it sounds like a cliche, but learning good habits is much harder than breaking bad ones, isn't it? It's bad habits are hard to change. Good habits take longer to happen, but once they happen, then you just have that kind of thing you can refer back to. I know what works now. I know that if we go out and have a big meal, I don't get freaked out about that. I just think that's okay. I'll just balance things out. I don't have to worry about things like that. And it's just changing my relationship with food, really, that, and learning that a treat is only a treat if you have it sometimes.
Oh, that
Yeah.
reminds me. When we first started, on our very first call, you said to me, I have tried tracking my food and stuff before, but my evenings, I let myself off the hook a little bit. And I remember it was maybe a month or two in, and you'd had a period where you plateaued. And I said, so what we're doing in the evenings then? And you were like, ah, you've caught me.
Well, I had those magic calories that didn't count. There were the cafe lattes and the bags of crisps and stuff that in my head, oh, well, that wasn't a meal, it doesn't count. And then when we started to actually track those so-called treats, or the things that I didn't count or factor in, and then that's when things really began to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before we started working together, what had you tried to change your situation?
I'd done the usual things. I'd done the torture myself by starving myself. Really, I'm not going to. That never worked, obviously, for me. I just might last a day or two, and then it's just not sustainable. I tried a couple of online ones, and I'm trying to think of the name of it now. The app one that
My Fitness Pal, is it that one?
yes, yes, that one, and I got quite. That initially helped a bit, and I lost a little bit of weight, but I just got frustrated with it because it was it was just a robot. It was just robotic. And when I tried to ask a question about, well, how do I manage through COVID? It was like COVID didn't exist. The robot couldn't deal with that. And I wanted to be able to have a conversation with somebody that was, COVID was such a particular thing, and it changed life so dramatically that I needed to be able to think about that and talk about that and work with that. I just tried cutting various things out, denying myself my cheese and wine and stuff like that, but not in any really systematic way, not in any really planned way. It was like 2 days good, then 1 day bad, and then the rest of the week bad. You get to Tuesday, you've done really well. Then Wednesday is bad. You think, oh, well, this week is a write-off. And then you're halfway through the month, so you write off that month. And then there's always some reason not to start again. Just I'll start after Christmas, or I'll start in the spring, or start in the summer, or whenever. So I hadn't tried, as I say, it wasn't really a systematic, carefully thought out thing. It was just randomly trying to cut out certain foods, but it wasn't changing my relationship with food or how I eat or what I ate, things like that.
It's really interesting, right? Because when it comes to what we did and anybody losing fat, everybody has to apply by the same principle of, right, we need to eat in a calorie deficit, right? On the face of it, it's really simple, but how we actually apply it is what you're alluding to there is totally different. Where you went, well, I like cheese, I still want to be able to have that. I've got this stressful job. COVID has just happened. How do I manage this for myself as an individual? So obviously the online side of things is at that point still relatively new. And like you said earlier in the call, you're not the most tech
No.
savvy kind of guy. So before starting, did you have any hesitations around how this would work for you?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think you had reached out to me some months previously, and I kind of thought, no, this would be a waste of time. And I did have preconceptions. I did think an online thing, just skeptical about it, and then to be honest, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I may have told you this, but I thought, what is a young guy going to know about an old guy? You young coaches don't understand what somebody in their 60s, what their body is like. Our bodies don't recover the same way. They don't act the same way. So I guess I was quite skeptical, not about just the online thing, but about working with somebody young, because I didn't think you would be able to understand my situation. And I think it was only after the first conversation that we had where I got, well, I think you said, look, what's to lose here? We have a conversation. Maybe you go away with a few tips and we don't continue, or maybe something happens. So I thought, yeah, well, what's to lose? Go for it. And I guess it was the common sense approach, because there's so much stuff. And I still get oodles of stuff on Instagram about how you could lose 14 stone in the next 3 days by eating eggs standing on your head. There's all that stuff about. And I guess the common sense approach was just very different and refreshing. The fact that you can still remember some of the things we said back then show that you were listening to me rather than coming with it. This is going to be what happens, this is what you're going to do. You actually listened to me. You listened to my knobbly knee, my bad back, my stressful job, my bad eating habit. You took all that on board, and that's what I think made the difference, really, because I can't remember where we started with this question now, but anyway, you let it out.
That was perfect, man. And do you know what? It's so funny what you say about the young coaches, because the era we live in is such a social media era. And what I see on social media, and I try not to follow many coaches or watch much content, because some of it, like you said, is just lose 14 stone in 3 days by eating eggs and doing this. But there's a lot of young coaches that are so caught up in trying to get traction on social media that some of the stuff they say is just so outrageous, but it's just to get clicks and views. So I look at it, if I was looking to get any sort of coaching, I'd be like, no, I'm not going with those idiots. And
Mm.
it is easy to like categorize everyone in that same thing when you see so much of it. But let's start talking then about the results that you actually did achieve, because you did some amazing things. Even the photo shoot, which was, I can't believe how long ago that was. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
talk to me about everything that you actually achieved in the time that we did work together.
I think as you said earlier, things got off to a good start and then they plateaued out a bit, and I threw a bit of a hissy fit and this wasn't working and this was all a waste of time. And that was one of my patterns. Was I tried something and then it didn't work, and that would prove to me that doesn't work. So I think initially I was trying to sabotage things and think, well, I worked with a coach, a real live person, that didn't work either, so there's no hope. And you talked me down from that drama queen stage, and basically that's how we got, you challenged me, that's how we got into all that snacking and stuff that I wasn't counting, and that was a big revelation for me. And from then things really progressed in quite a very, not straightforward, but things progressed significantly from there. So I think I had that initial resistance. There was part of my brain was going, this is not going to work anyway, so give it a shot, but it won't work. And then you didn't let me off the hook. You said it's not working. There's a reason it's not working. Let's look at why it's not working. This is why it's not working. You're not counting all that stuff. So that was a big significant. And then I think the markers. I think we started late October 21. And then you set a goal for Christmas, I think, to lose 4 or 5 kilos. I can't remember, but it was a big, that was a big, having those achievable marking points rather than, because I wanted to lose all the weight in a week, no. But having a challenge to lose a certain amount by a certain time that was achievable and manageable and significant. And then I think the next big turning point was when I got into my suit again. I think I made a video for you and I actually wore the suit that wouldn't fit me before. And that was a big turning point. And then just the photo shoot was a major one. I think I threw another hissy fit not long before that, where I got, this is just self-indulgence. I can't be doing with this. Who do I was, what, 64 then? What's a 64-year-old man doing prancing around London in a suit? And that was a big game changer for me, because it really, my confidence kind of blossomed from there. And then throughout this process, work was blossoming too. I took on some very difficult projects at work that led to financial reward, which paid more than paid for the coaching. And that kind of confidence. And you can see now I'm become a bit of an Instagram quick. I like pictures of myself. And up till then, I would hide in every photograph. You won't find a photograph of me. It would be very hard to find a photograph of me before 2021 anywhere, because I would make sure in any photograph I was either taking the photograph or I was hidden in the photograph. So that's completely changed my self-image and my self-confidence. And that had a huge impact on my work. And that kind of gave my last couple of years of work, made it a really, really happy, successful, rewarding time. And then retirement, I wasn't thinking about retirement. When we were working together, it was all about how to manage work. Retirement just wasn't in my head. And then one day it was in my head, and I thought, what? I'd like to retire. And fortunately, I was in a position where I could. So it was, I think the turning points were having those achievable goals. Over the next 3 months, we're going to get to this, or I'm going to fit into my suit, or a photo shoot, which was great fun. And I really enjoyed that very much. And it was the total opposite of my comfort zone or my image of myself or anything I would think of doing. And that, quite frankly, I would have looked at someone as a complete tosspot. And by doing that, it was just that just changed things significantly for me. Changed my life. I can't say it any differently, really. And I never thought, I didn't think I could ever retire. I didn't think I could give up work. They didn't want me to give up work. They still asked me to go back. But I've closed the door and locked it with a key. I'm not going back to work. I'm having a wonderful time. So that was, as I say, wasn't the planned outcome, but it was certainly an added bonus that actually I can look and feel good in retirement. I don't have to wear suits anymore, but I can still dress well. It's very hot today, so I'm not particularly dressed, but it's all about confidence, I think. And now it's about how I feel and if I'm feeling good, then life is good. And there's been other challenges along the way. Things have changed for me physically in that I have my arthritis has progressed to quite a serious stage. So pain is a huge factor in my life. So having those mobility, I still do between 15 and 20,000 steps a day, at least, sometimes more. I'm in a very competitive pensioners walking group. You have no idea how competitive pensioners can be. And I usually win. Not that I'm competitive, but I usually win. And so I think it's about change over a long period rather than sudden transformation. You can look back and I can look back and see the stages, but I can see moments along the way where moments of our first Christmas was a big one. First Christmas where I think I remember saying to you, Christmas time, biscuits and chocolates appear by magic and fill the house. Where I didn't stuff my face, I still had a lovely time, but I didn't overdo it. I just learned how to eat properly. So that Christmas was a big thing. And then, because we started at 82 kilos and then I could never get below 80. So getting below 80 when I got to 79, that was a big moment. And then just going down, down, down after that. So I think having those milestones, I suppose, along the way, so you can see the progression.
Do you know one milestone that I really remember for yourself?
What?
There was a particular clothes shop, wasn't there, that you'd always wanted to go in and say,
Yeah.
I'm not letting myself go in there. And I remember getting a text from you that was like, I went in and I bought a whole new wardrobe.
Yeah, yeah. That's where I bought a suit for the photo shoot. I was so intimidated by that shop, I would never go in. But I went in, and actually I developed a really good relationship with the owner of the shop. It's sadly closed now, but from that point I bought everything there, and he also taught me how to wear clothes, which I didn't know. I always wore my sleeves too long, so my jackets always looked the wrong size. I always wore my trousers too long, and he would have things adjusted for me so they actually fit, and that made a huge difference as well. He told me how many buttons to open on my shirt and how to roll your cuff and stuff. And we became great friends. And I actually he used some of those pictures to advertise his shop as well. So I was actually a model for a little while.
Amazing, amazing. And throughout this process, I believe this was the right number. Across the whole time, you dropped, was it 22 or 23 kg?
22, yeah.
I think crazy. Everything you achieved in that period, and like I say, the milestones along the way where it's like, wow, I've lost these first 2 kilos. Now I can go in this clothes shop. I can control food in a social environment, and it all snowballs together. And then you get to a point where we did the photo shoot, and it's like, wow, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. So was there a moment for you that you actually realized this time is different and this is actually going to be successful?
I'd say it was the photo shoot. I think I remember when I got home and you sent me some sample shots, and I thought, that's not me. I couldn't. It wasn't who I thought I was, and I thought, actually this is me. And it's so that was a huge moment. I think seeing myself through different eyes rather than, I think, even though I'd made a lot of progress, I'd still see the same old Colm in the mirror. And even though my clothes fit and stuff like that, but seeing those photographs somehow, I don't know, made a difference. And it was like, wow, that person looks great, and that person's me. And I can look great. I'm 67 now, and I feel great. And I wouldn't mind being younger, but I don't. I'm not trying to be younger. I am the age that I am, and making the most of every minute of it and enjoying it. But so that, I guess, that was a transformative moment, the photo shoot, and something I would never have contemplated doing, and probably wouldn't have let anybody else convince me to do except you. And I did nearly back out of it at the last minute. It was very much a thing that might never have happened. But I'm really glad I did, and I'm glad you pushed me, and that made a huge difference. I suppose it changed my self-image. I'm going a long way around saying that it changed my self-image, and much for the better. So I'm not frightened of photographs. I quite welcome them now. I'm really excited. I'm going to my sister's 50th wedding anniversary in September. I was the best man at her wedding. I get to do the wedding speech again, and I feel really confident about doing that. And I think people will go, "Well, he's done all right over 50 years since we last saw him." So I'm looking forward to that. And I wouldn't be if I was 22 kilos heavier and couldn't wear a nice suit. So
amazing. Absolutely amazing, man. And do you know what? I actually think it's really nice how you're able to be so open and say, do you know what? There were moments where I considered quitting, where I was overwhelmed, where I was stressed, because this is such a normal thing to go through, right? And I was writing a bit of content about this earlier. I do believe if you don't hit a certain point of overwhelm, you're probably not pushing yourself enough. Because have you ever seen that picture on Instagram, the meme sort of thing, where it's someone digging for gold and they're so nearly there and then they give up and walk away?
yes, yeah.
It's exactly that situation where it's like the photo shoot as an example. If you'd not done that, yes, you still looked amazing, but you got these pictures back that goes, no, you do look amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here it is in factual proof. And I thought it was really symbolic how we did it in the suit as well, because from our first conversation, it was such a big thing for you, wasn't it? I want to look and feel good in the suit.
Absolutely, yeah. And I will wear that suit again at my sister's wedding anniversary. Replicate that outfit. It was, and you're right. There were at least 3 times when I seriously decided to quit. And all credit to you. You were very patient with my fitness pal thing. When I tried to challenge some of the things, I just got a message saying, "Oh, maybe this is not for you." Not, well, no. If you can't answer my question, it's not for me. Of course, it's not for me. But if that's how you work, that if you can't answer somebody's question, you recommend they go somewhere else. So I think you took on board where what they were a bit tantrum. It was a bit because I think there was still that part of my brain that said you're wasting time. You're an idiot. Who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're trying to achieve? All those little voices were still there, and basically told them to fuck off in the end.
I love it. I love it. That is honestly the most important part of the whole thing, right? Because yes, we have the training and the nutrition, but if we can't be adherent to those things because of our own thoughts, beliefs, habits that we're stuck in, no matter what nutrition strategy we put in front of you, it doesn't matter because we need to work with the brain and overcome these thoughts, beliefs, etc. that are they're the thing that's holding us back, and that's then going to allow us to be adherent to
Mhm.
whatever the training, the nutrition is. Now, a couple things that I want to delve into just before we talk about where you're at now, because I think that's super inspiring for a lot of people, is in these moments that you were considering quitting, what made you stop? What made you keep going?
You I had that contact with my relationship with friends or my partner would say, "Oh well, don't be so hard on yourself. You don't need to lose weight. You look fine." So other people would let me off the hook. I can't do this. I can't. It's too hard. And I go, relax. And whereas you broke it down for me, well, what's this really about? What's really happening here? Look how far you've come. So why would you throw all that away, really, or why? And I guess it was that balance of building on positive success and acknowledging that, but then also challenging the other side. So it's not just all, oh, you're great, you're doing fantastic, you're doing great. Because after a while, you go, everything I'm doing is great, fantastic. It needed to be balanced with that kind of, well, what's really going on here? And what was going on for me, where there was stuff that I shared with you from my past that was holding me back. It was those parts of me that were saying, you're not really worth this. You're not good enough for this. Who do you think you are? Good old Irish Catholic upbringing. You don't lift yourself up. That's seen as a bad thing. You put yourself down. And so I think it was having that combination of encouragement, but also the challenge that goes with it and the accountability, because I did learn that it was pointless trying to lie to you, and I could lie to myself. That was really easy. But you basically said, if you're doing what you say you're doing, well, this is what should be happening. But it's not happening. So are you doing what you're saying you're doing? And I wasn't. So, but I think all throughout there was that balance of encouragement and challenge, and tailored to me. There were times when I'd say to you, my knee's really bad this week, I can't do my exercises, or you would change the exercise program. Or when I got ill and you just eased back. There was just, we just changed gears when we needed to change gears, and that helped, but helped a lot. So it's a personalized touch, I guess. And so and the psychology, I guess. You understood the psychology of what was happening, and that I was trying to sabotage it and prove that it doesn't work. So
I love it. I love it because I totally agree with what you're saying there. You don't want a friend, but you also don't want a dictator. You want a challenge and high support at the same time, right?
my partner Stephen, not long after we moved to Kent, that's 2 years ago now, he went to a local gym and there was a young trainer, about 19 or 20. Anyway, within a week, Stephen had done his back in and it took years to recover. This young guy was treating him, a man in his late 50s, as a teenager. You have to push yourself harder than, well, when you're my age, you don't push yourself harder than you can go because your body won't bounce back. It won't come back. So it's about understanding what's right for people at the right time, really. So it's not just that you must do this, there's a psychology behind it.
There's an individual there, isn't there? And people respond to different things.
Rather than a computer program or an app. And I think when I think back, the weekly journal was a big part. The photographs, because I initially found those very difficult. And I remember you saying that was a deal breaker. I was trying to talk you out of me. And I did. I struggled to upload them sometimes. That was all strange to me. And I struggled to take them because I didn't want, I learned how to upload them without looking at them. And I remember there was a point, and I've forgotten this until now, there was another milestone where you showed the pictures back to me and you compared and you said, look at the difference. And I thought, oh, I've forgotten that milestone. I can't remember. Might have been about 6 months in, I can't remember, but there was a certain point where you mirrored the photographs back to me, and actually that weekly check-in and the photographs were hugely important, because whatever happened during the week, I think I'm going to have to account for this on Sunday or whatever day it was, and he's going to know if I'm not telling the truth. And if I tell the truth, it doesn't matter. He's not going to throw me off the program. He's better that we say, look, on Wednesday I went out, ate my brains out or something. Really. So I think that regular accountability and and I still weigh myself every day, not in some obsessive way. It's just a routine habit. It doesn't freak me out if it's different, because I learned from you that your weight fluctuates depending on what I've eaten or drunk the day before, whatever. But it's just a habit. It's just a routine that I have. But I actually know by my clothes. I don't need to weigh myself. So I don't do it at any obsessive number counting thing. It's just part of a routine. And something in my brain that alongside we still plan the meals. Now that we're retired, we have a lot more time to plan the meals. And that's become a fun thing, that we've got time to plan. So we can really think about what we're going to eat and shop for it day by day. So we're very, very fortunate.
Love it. That brings me on to the next part of this then, which is why I reached out initially to bring you on, because like I said at the start of the podcast, it's been about 2 years, which is crazy, since we worked together. And so many people are so concerned about, what's the point of me going through this process because I'm just going to regain it anyway. Well, we're now 2 years later. How have you managed to stay in such great shape since?
I don't know really. I think the things I've learned, the really key things I learned is preparation. Think about what you're going to eat. Don't just leave it to chance or random or whatever. And it's actually fun to plan ahead and think ahead and cook ahead and so on. And I still have good habits like eating really slowly. That was one of the things I learned from you. I still do that. I eat annoyingly slowly when I'm eating with other people, but that slowed me down, and that's helped. So I just think those habits, those good habits, are good habits. I also allow myself treats. So my cheese treat is not every day, but for my birthday a few weeks ago, we had a nice cheese board at Christmas. So that's a treat now, but I don't have to do that every day or every week or whatever. And I guess the motivation is still about feeling good, looking good, And as I do get older and my body is giving me grief in various ways, the mobility and the flexibility with my knees, the last thing I need is excess weight. The best thing I ever did for my knees was to lose weight. And I don't do so much resistance training now. I do more yoga, Pilates, flexible stuff to keep me just mobile and flexible, and the walking. I think it's just good habits, having learned good habits and not wanting to go back to that place, really. And even though I don't have the motivation now around work, which was the primary motivation before, about how I could present myself at work and building my confidence. And I thought that would change things significantly. I genuinely thought when I retired, I'd be bored out of my brain and that I'd just become, I'd just blossom back into a huge lump again. But I haven't, because I've discovered there's a whole other world of competitive walking groups um, and lots of things to do. And so being mobile and feeling mobile and flexible and literally taking the weight off my knees is motivates me now. And things like events like that's coming up in September, I think I want to I want people to say, God, he's looking good for his age. Yes. And I want to be able to enjoy that and feel confident when I give that speech in September that I do my sister and her husband justice, but I do myself justice as well. And so, yeah, so the goals have changed, but there's still things. And beautiful summer weather, I want to go out in a t-shirt and shorts and not think, oh gosh, I've got a great big tummy in front of me or whatever. So, but I'd say on the whole, it's changing the habits. So the things like preparation, portion control, eating slowly, treats being treats and not everyday occurrences, and then being all the more special for being treats. And enjoying food, just enjoying it. You can really enjoy it, and you don't have to. I think I've just changed for the better, I think. But it's hard. I'm just motivated to feel now. I guess I'm more motivated to enjoy life the best I can for as long as I can and while I can. And I don't need to do it for work or for anybody else. I do it for myself.
Fantastic. Love it. It's again, it's really super cool because we do have these big drivers, like you said, it was right. I'm doing this for work so that I can perform my absolute best. And what's super cool is you've actually reflected on it and gone, well, now that work's not there, what actually is important to me? What is important to me is feeling good on a day-to-day basis, actually being able to enjoy my life as much as I possibly can. When you were in Sevilla and it's beautiful, and being able to walk around and enjoy the fantastic surroundings instead of being like, "Ah, no, do you know what? I'm not fit enough to go out." Now you're in walking groups, absolutely smashing it.
Yeah. It's certainly made retirement much more enjoyable, and other people. It's influenced other people. Most of my friends are around my age, and they have made changes in their lives as well, and that's how the walking group came about, and it's had benefits for other people as well, and so motivation is different, but it kind of feels almost healthier because it's for me and for my enjoyment. It's not for how I perform at work for other people, much as I loved that when I did it. And I do miss it sometimes, but most of the time I don't miss it. Not on a day like today when they're all in the office still at a meeting and I'm going to go sit in my garden in a few minutes. So I do think I'm not in a position to give anybody advice or anything like that, but I do think if somebody was thinking about a process like this, do it for yourself, do it for your own self. Don't do it for anybody else or for your job. If that helps, if that kind of motivation helps you, that's great. But ultimately, it's for yourself, and that's okay. And
I honestly couldn't agree more, mate. I think what people over time need to understand is what are the true things that they actually genuinely value in life, and what is the vision that they have for their life. So when they can actually sit down and go, what is this in service to? Because the goals that you achieve, they're great, but when you've achieved them, what happens next? When you've lost that 5, 10, 20 kilos, whatever it is, what do you do then? Do you just sack it off because you've achieved the goal, you've ticked the box? It's very, very different when you look at it through the lens and go, right, I'm going through this fat loss process because I want to be able to live a long, healthy life. I want to be able to play around with, in many examples, kids, dogs. I want to be able to go to these walking groups, go on holiday and really enjoy myself and not have to be the one that has to sit there and not join in. So I think that's really, really cool.
Mhm.
So if you could go back to the version of yourself before we started, what would you say to him?
Oh gosh, what would I say to him? I'd say you can change. You can do this. You can. This is worthwhile, and the benefits are. You will have benefits that you didn't expect. When I got bonuses at work, that was great at that time. That doesn't mean it toss to me now. It did to me then. And life changes. And when the person I was then, before we started working, had no thoughts of retirement. It wasn't part of my brain. And that life could be this good and enjoyable. Because I always thought work was why I lived. That was the meaning of my life. And now I've discovered actually there's so much more. So I would just say it's worth the effort. I do have a photograph that I refer back to when my sister visited not long before I started work. Well, about the summer, a few months before I started working for you. One of the I said to you, I don't have photographs. There is one, and I look really, really very overweight in it. And I kept that one photograph, and it's a reminder that I don't want to go back to that place. But I think I would say, look, don't be so hard on yourself. You can do this. It can be done, and don't listen to the voices that say you can't do it. And don't sabotage it. Just do it. So that's what I'd say to him, I guess.
Anyone watching, you are the living proof that you can do it, no matter what experiences you've had up until the time that you actually press play to really do this. You absolutely can do it, and it might take time, it might take a lot of effort, and it will take ups and it will take downs, but it's so worth it in the end. So last question before I thank you for coming on. How different is life as a result of going through this process and achieving everything that you did?
Oh, I think it's massively different. I think my confidence is, people notice the change in my confidence. People saw me at work as a very confident, competent person, but that was my work persona. I literally dressed up to be that person at work. Whereas now I just relaxed and myself and enjoying life. And people see that and notice that, and they, you're looking very well, or you seem very happy, or you're obviously enjoying life. And it's what can I say? It's just made a massive difference. And as repeating myself, but when we started, that wasn't where I thought this was going to end up. If you know what I mean. This conversation I couldn't have envisaged, that I'd be retired already a year and loving it and not wanting to go back to work and feel I've done that bit of my life. And this is a different bit of my life that I always thought would be. It is the final chapter. I have no illusions about that. My body reminds me of that every day. But the last chapter doesn't have to be the worst chapter. A good book, you don't want it to end, but you also want to see what happens at the end. So this is the last chapter, but it's a good chapter. And I think having done the work that we did is making this a much better chapter that I hadn't actually planned for, if that makes sense. So what I was planning for was work, but what I have now is being fitter, healthier, happier than I've ever been, despite the aches and the pains. But I just learned to enjoy that and really make the most of life. And I guess I would, if there's anybody does watch this who's a bit older, one of the big factors for me was I thought I was too old to engage in a process like this. I was 63 when we started, and I thought, you've left it too late, mate. There's this, and I'd say it's never too late. It's never too late. So,
Absolutely. Colm, thank you so much
you.
for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to have you on here, and it was a real pleasure to be a part of your journey. And it's fantastic to see just how good you're doing now. And I'm looking forward to seeing more on your Instagram of I'm sure many travels that you've got coming up.
Well, thank you. You'll always be part of my happiness and self-confidence. So I do appreciate everything you've done, and thank you.
I love my man.